Welcome everyone, doing a live today about the last generation of free men. So this live is going to be about social IDs, social credit scores, CBDCs, digital currencies, that kind of thing. So we're going to be the last ones who remember what freedom was. This live is not a dystopian novel, it's not a conspiracy theory. Governments and central banks are rolling out a global system of control like the world's never seen. The central digital currencies, the CBDCs, are nothing about convenience. They're the ultimate prison that's going to be built into our economy. It's going to be programmable money that they can just turn off at a whim. Your social credit score is going to determine whether you have the right to exist. A digital ID is going to chain us to the state-approved behaviours. So we're going to cover a few things. We've got a fair few videos lined up, and it's going to go from kind of older times, like during the scandemic, where they pretty much over-concentrated on actually, pushing this stuff through, which is kind of interesting. You would have thought they'd be more interested in what was going on at the time, with all the, different, stuff that was happening around the world, but they just seem to be very fixated on digital IDs the whole time. Like even in Australia, we were given an ID, like a passport, they called it. And I can tell you I didn't get one, and I wouldn't even carry a phone anywhere because of all the stuff that was going on. But Australia's had this implemented for a long time, and during that scandemic time is when a lot of legislation went through for this. And just so you understand what's going on and who did what, I've got a fair few videos coming on, and I've just received intel. I've got some fresh uncle intel that's just come in, which is actually positive. So I've got my fingers crossed for this. I'll get to that one a bit later because I didn't schedule it into this live. So if you're watching this, let me know where you live and if your government where you live has implemented any of this or started passing legislation to basically bring in the enslavement digital ID or the central digital currencies. So yeah, we're going to explain a lot in this video, so grab a drink or whatever you need and get comfy. Here we have Tony Blair, who during that time of COVID, so this is 2023, so the worst of it was kind of settling a little bit. Well, not in Australia it wasn't, but Tony Blair has pretty much now made a career out of this. He is now on multiple panels. He's obviously got his head so far up the World Economic Forum's arse it's not funny. And, this is one of the clowns who did the weapons of mass destruction lies. So back in the days of John Howard and George Bush, this is one of the clowns involved with all that lie. As you can see, he's still walking freely around, making zillions of dollars out of trying to basically enslave the population. So, a bit of a clown. So anyway, I'm going to play this short video and then we'll just do a bit of decoding after each of these videos. About what's coming at us and when. And again, if you're on, drop in the comments where you're from, that kind of thing. This will also be split up later on into a few different videos, so the standard like and subscribe and whatever. But let's get stuck into it. I'll just kill my mic while I turn this on.
The technology and the digital infrastructure, I just want to emphasize how important I think that is. Because in the end, you need the data. You need to know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't been. Some of the vaccines that will come on down the line will be multiple. There'll be multiple shots. So you've got to have, for reasons to do with the healthcare more generally, but certainly for a pandemic or for vaccines, you've got to have a proper digital infrastructure. And many countries don't have that. In fact, most countries don't have that.
Yeah, so old footage, so I think we all kind of remember the times. But as you can see, this is what those clowns were up to at the time. They weren't worried about your health, they never were. They were implementing controls to basically, put us all in line and, like we're cattle, not worthy of farting, because that could make some CO2. But these jokers are flying in their Learjets all over, all over the world, making money out of this. So, it's always follow the money. But Tony Blair, what a joke, just another idiot. So, what are you going to do? And they've always got this typical thing going on, the problem, reaction, solution model. It's been used forever and it works. Most of the general public are asleep and they sit around looking up to these fools. So, you know, it's kind of all our own fault for being asleep at the wheel, that these guys are not only making billions of dollars during these times, which is highly suspicious, but just also letting them have the reins of our lives. And, you know, there's so much going on at the moment where I've got in Australia, all our kids are about to get cut off the internet. Like, what a bloody joke. I'm the parent. I should be the one who decides what my children do, not the state. The state can get fucked. Like, our children were deliberately homeschooled to stop this kind of bullshit that they shouldn't have to listen to. I don't want my kids at school listening to like trans bullshit. So, you know, again, the state is just overreaching into everyone's lives, and it has to stop. And pretty much time's running out. We will literally be the last generation of free people. So I think it's time people get their fur up a little bit and, you know, come to the party and say, no, we don't want this and we're not interested. All right, let's pull to the next. All right.
One of our viewers got in touch
God,
and wanted us to ask this question. Russ Brown wanted us to ask you if you really believe that those profiting from human trafficking will think, oh dear, I have to check your digital ID now. I can't carry on paying you £1.50 an hour to work in my sweatshop.
I'm absolutely convinced that amongst the reasons that people travel through France, which is a safe country, to come to the United Kingdom, amongst the reasons is because it's easier to work in our illegal economy than it is in other countries. And we have to deal with that.
Bosses who are prepared to hire people illegally are not asking them for their national insurance card.
So just note the date. So this is September 28th, 2025. So very, very recent. This is the stomach full. Trying to make up excuses for why we need this crap.
What's the evidence? What makes you think they're suddenly going to ask them for a digital ID?
We need to be really clear. You must have ID, mandatory digital ID, in order to work, because we have to stop illegal working. If you look at any of the raids,
So notice the language, mandatory for some things, which is work. Like, how are you going to earn any money if you don't go to work? Like, clown world. How dare they? Like, absolutely ridiculous that we let this happen. People better get to the streets real soon.
We've massively increased the number of raids on working premises. It is absolutely clear that people are working illegally in numbers.
But why do you think that then having to have a digital ID would stop that problem, when right now people are meant to have a national insurance number and card, and if they're not asked for that, a boss is willing already to break the rules? What's the difference going to be?
Well, the difference is this is on point of starting, not a retrospective exercise as it now is. It is an automatic collection of the information by the government, so we know exactly who is working in our economy, and it will help us enforce the rules that are there. But there's no point people saying to me, why do we need it, when we all acknowledge there is a problem?
Here we are. Problem, solution, reaction. He's just going straight for it. They do this like, you can see his lips moving. That's bullshit flying everywhere. Any of these guys, as soon as their lips move, you know there's a problem, and they're absolute liars. But they kind of have to tell you what they're up to. So even though they lie 99% of the time, it's his job, and all the deep state kind of actors, because that's all these guys are. They're just actors. You know, they're working for the other people who we don't even know their last names. Their families are dynasties, 1,000-year reign kind of people. So this fool is just spewing out bullshit. But they do have to tell us what they're up to. It just seems to be some, I don't know, contract with Satan that they all sign, you know, when they get the job of being an actor. So, you know, UK, you're in deep shit. Like, Australia's not far behind you, but you're in deep shit. Time to wake up. Get to it.
People are working illegally in our economy. It is amongst the reasons that people want to come to the United Kingdom. We have to deal with that. I made a pledge that we would do whatever was necessary, use whatever tools were available to deal with illegal migration. I intend to do so.
All right. So the guy who basically allowed mass immigration, or keeps allowing it, is now worried about it, apparently. So they create the problem, they're giving us the solution. Like, you know, and they're still not stopping on mass immigration, nor is Australia. And people are sick of it. People are out on the street saying no more. They're not going to listen to us. Again, they're paid actors. They're being paid handsomely behind closed doors. Their pissy wage of whatever they earn, $400,000 a year, I think the PM in Australia, that's nothing. That's chook feed compared to the contracts they walk into afterwards. They sit on multiple boards, get paid by the WF and every other proxy, you know, company that runs out there. And the people who are funding this, like WF and a lot of this, are the companies. So, funnily enough, I've got some intel, like I said before, that's just come in, which totally makes sense to this, and it's a move in the right direction from one of these companies. The company itself is hell scary, but we'll get to that. So, we'll just get to our next clip. So, keep an eye on dates as well. You'll sort of see what's going on with dates, because a lot of this is very fresh. And I think towards the end, I'll put a couple of clips in that I've done elsewhere, like done before years ago, talking about all this kind of stuff, just so you kind of get an idea of this is not new. This has been planned for a long time, you know. So I'll check this clown out, man. All right, come on.
Our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
So this guy's obviously he's the head of the Bank of International Settlements. So they're kind of like the central kind of banking system, and they're always telling us they're worried about resource and how resource is a big problem. Well, look at this guy. Like, I reckon he's eaten enough food for a whole country, and he's blaring on about telling us we're using too much shit, and I don't even know how he'd fit in his own private plane. This monkey, they're just ridiculous. So again, dates on this one. It's dated, this one, September the 26th, 2005. Alright, we'll get to our next one. I've got a fair few clips, and some of them make more sense than others. Alright, I'll just get to the next one. Alright.
I just want to draw the line between what I understand to be programmability of a digital currency issued by a central bank and alternative provisions. For us, the issuance of a digital currency that would be central bank money would not be programmable.
Right, so I just have to pull her up here. So she's from the same mob, the Bank of International Settlements, and what she's trying to say here, again, problem, solution, all this kind of stuff going on. She's claiming that they will not program digital currencies to do extra things. Like, anyone who knows anything about cryptocurrency knows that you can put, issues on transactions. You're able to program things into each coin. So, for example, they're throwing up the topic here of having a timed digital currency where if you didn't spend the money in time, whatever the time the banks put on it, then that money just disappears. This technology's been around for a long time. I actually think that cryptocurrency was a psyop, and it was to get you all used to it, and that's why Bitcoin pumps, because they want you to get on this exciting ride, oh wow, look, I keep making free money for doing nothing. And people are just getting used to that. So everyone's then going to kind of expect that a central bank digital currency is going to make the money too, like it's going to be on the stock market and just go up. Well, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a stable coin pinned to something. Well, it's going to be pinned to our enslavement. That's basically what the worth of this currency will be. Now, watch her tricky wording. So she says on one hand, the Bank of International Settlements, for example, are not going to program anything into the money. But then she turns around and says that the central banks can and will at their discretion. So that means that overall there'll be a worldwide currency, which will be generalised. But then each country itself could quite easily choose on programming, for example, when that digital currency will run out, how if you overspend it, it won't let you. certain products you'll not be allowed to buy, all that kind of thing. So just watch the tricky words.
Would not be associated with any particular limitation, whether it's in time, in type of use. That to me would be a voucher. It wouldn't be digital currency. Those who can associate the use of digital currency with programmability would be the intermediaries, would be the commercial banks. And that's their business. They know how to do that. But if we are to say that a dollar is a dollar, whether it's cash or digital, or a euro is a euro, cash or digital, then for us it cannot be programmable. It can be associated with
just for them,
which is different, but not programmable.
So you can sort of see what's going on here. You know, at the end of the day, they're talking about, you know, one mob saying, oh, we wouldn't do this to kind of, you know, try to stop people fearing it. But on the next hand, she's saying, yeah, well, within each country, they're going to do that. And it's obviously a part of the plan. Like I said before, these clowns have to tell you their evil intentions. It's some sort of contract that's been around. It's almost like, you know, like manifesting. The way that they manifest is by having to tell us what they're about to do. And she just told everyone that basically, yes, digital currencies will be programmed, and that's totally out of their control, but it's up to the central banks to control. So that's pretty scary stuff. Like, you know, really is. Imagine that. Money that if you didn't spend in a year, it's gone.
Where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating?
Check the dates.
What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Now they do. So another clown.
This panel is so inspiring and energizing to me because I am ready for a new environmental capitalism. I'm demanding a new environmental capitalism for myself. Every company here at the forum must be net zero and fully renewable. We have no choice. We're at the time where we must create a net zero world.
So again, look at the dates. This is recent. WEF, the clowns all yapping on. So they're telling us that we have to be net zero. They recently did this to hit the target of by 2035, you will not be allowed to produce any carbon. Like, funnily enough, I was always taught in school that CO2 is actually what plants need to grow and be green and stuff. So it's kind of, I don't know. I just got to trust the science, I'm telling you. That's all you got to do. You don't think for yourself. Trust the science from these guys. So what's really interesting, though, is that, like, if anyone with a brain looked around, there is no way to be net zero because we do not have the technology, or they will not allow the technology that we would need to proceed into a future where we don't burn coal. Because even nuclear energies, you know, that's not, to me, that's not zero either. That makes a huge mess that needs cleaning up constantly, and it uses water, it contaminates stuff, and whatever. So this net zero is a pipe dream, and they know it, but they're talking about it like it's real. Like, there's no country that's running on green energy. Like, they keep sprouting, oh, China's, you know, now 50%, or, like, what a load of bullshit. How? Like, wind doesn't work, we all know that. Solar doesn't work because we don't have the technology to store the power. And, you know, it's just ridiculous. And at the same time, they're telling us all to be net zero. Ironically, like in Australia, we used to get paid, say, 30 cents. Or originally it was 60 cents per kilowatt, when kilowatts in Australia to buy as power were only about 20 cents. They used to pay us to be green. They quickly scrubbed that a long time ago, like 10 or more years ago. And now our local power bill, when I send solar back into the grid, which I do have a lot of solar, so when I send it back into the grid, I get paid less than 4 cents. So they're talking green, yet I'm being penalised for doing the right thing. So none of this shit makes any sense. We'll continue with Clown World over here.
Means that not only do we have to be net zero and fully renewable, it also means that we have to do everything we can to sequester 200 gigatons of carbon that's already out there.
I tell you. Anyway, next clown is the coffee clown.
We'll be having our coffee before the session, and you raised the coffee example. I'd love just to give you the chance to expand on that.
Basically, the coffee that we all drink emits between 15 and 20 tons of CO2 per ton of coffee. So we should all know that this is, every time we drink coffee, we are basically putting CO2 into the atmosphere. One of the reasons is because most of the coffee plantation, or most of the coffee is produced through monoculture. And monoculture is also affected by climate change. The quality of these nature assets is deteriorating quite rapidly.
All right, so no more coffee. So ironically though, these guys at WF were all standing around drinking coffee when this guy starts picking on it. So he's doing it, but he's criticising it and saying we shouldn't do it. Why doesn't he go by example and not drink coffee? I know, that's right. These rules are for us, not them. I keep forgetting that. I'm always like, oh yeah, well, Learjets, don't they use a lot of fuel? Oh no, that's right. No, got it. All right, let's continue with Clown World.
A new study shows the world's richest 1% account for more carbon emissions than the poorest 66%. What responsibility do you think the super rich have to act in a sustainable way as we see so many of these climate impacts falling on the backs of the world's poor?
Yeah, so the 1% makes more CO2 and mess than the lowest 66%. So 60%, 66% of, say, what are we, 9 billion? I don't believe it, but whatever. So we're talking, 100,000 people use more than, 4 billion or more, 6 billion. Like, that's disgusting. And these guys can sit there and talk to the camera as though they're fixing the world. Like, apparently this clown reckons he can fix everything. And, I wouldn't trust him as far as I can kick him, and I wouldn't even bother kicking him. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so, I spend about $9 million a year, so I'm buying
$9 million
sustainable aviation fuel and to cancel out my footprint. I wouldn't claim in any way, that means I can leave the problem alone, because I should use my skills and money to drive innovation, so that this problem doesn't just get solved for my emissions, it gets solved for everyone's.
All right, so this guy, his parents were top of the eugenics in America. Like, if you don't know what eugenics is, that's basically trying to wipe everyone out. They don't like population. It's only for them to have this planet, apparently. And as Bill Gates is buying up most of America at the moment and other places, he'll be right. He owns all the land. So he turns his fake zeros and ones in his account into land, which is pretty scary between him and BlackRock. Now, this is ridiculous. Like, think about it. He's claiming he's doing the right thing by spending $9 million a year on sustainable aviation fuel. Like, how many kilometres is that? And how many tonnes of CO2 is that? And by sustainable fuel, they don't make fuel out of anything sustainable. The company who he buys it from just probably plants some trees that then they log in 10 years' time and make more money. $9 million of fuel. Could you imagine how much that is? Like, and he's paying probably cheap US dollars, and it's probably some subsidised deal. So even if he's paying like $1 a litre, 9 million litres is insane. Like, I have a 5,000 litre water, 5,000 litre water tank sitting out the back. That looks big to my eye, and if I filled that fuel, that's insane. So now imagine 9 million litres of fuel. That's what this prick uses every year, and we're the problem. We're polluting. What a joke.
Emissions. I hope more people of wealth get involved in this, just like, I hope they get involved in philanthropy in general and global health. I do think those who are the luckiest, and I'm certainly in that group, we owe a lot to the society that created that framework, and we should have a long-term view of how we make a contribution.
Oh, God, I can't even talk after watching that idiot. Oh, man. And everyone looks up to people
Floods,
like that.
Droughts and wildfires last year were just a preview of what is to come.
Great.
A hotter climate and nature loss are changing our economy and our financial system. At the ECB, we must understand this change to ensure financial stability and to fulfill our price stability mandate. With our new climate and nature plan, we focus on the following three things. First, the green transition.
What's
Second, the growing physical impact of climate change. And third, the risks from nature loss and degradation.
So in the comments, throw in, do you reckon climate change is actually a real thing? Like, is it? Do you trust the science?
We will study the impact on the economy and the financial system. This will help us improve our own models. We will also work to reduce our carbon footprint in everything we do, from banknotes to how we supervise banks.
Yeah, because there won't be any banknotes. So they pretend the only thing they can come up with to be green is not printing banknotes, because it's all going to be a digital currency. So ridiculous, like, wow, big deal. Oh, they're hard to stomach, some of these people. All right, we'll move on to the next one.
So it actually means that countries need to divvy up this carbon budget between them, and then they need to divvy up the sectors, and then they need to have the measures which deal sector by sector with getting the, and if that means actually some of us are told, well, you can't go on a plane, that's fine. That's part of the national plan.
That's fine. So again, like, they're flying around in Learjets, and they're already telling us that they're pretty much going to stop air travel. So unless it's, you know, someone important, you know, if you want to go to Bali or somewhere, I'd be doing it this year, because you might not be able to soon enough, because this stuff is in play. Like, this is not, you know, oh, I'm worried about 2030. It'll be well and truly all summed up, maybe even next year, looking at how fast they're steaming forward. With, you know, the social credit scores, kicking all the kids off, like, because they pretend we're going to need a social, you know, like a digital currency and proof of digital ID just to get online. So they've started off pretending they're making kids safe by banning them from the internet. And the only way to tell if you're an adult is get a digital ID. So soon enough too, you could be locked from the internet. Now this sounds like a total conspiracy theory, but all you got to do is listen to these people and you'll see what I'm saying is not, you know, it's not bullshit. It's happening.
We're transmitting that. The police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording, watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
Yeah, so that kind of speaks for itself. So you better be a good boy or there'll be no money for you. So that's kind of how it all works. It's absolute prison. It's a control mechanism, you know. And this is, you know, a dream for these guys. They just want the ultimate control. Once you're a billionaire and you got all the money, obviously that gets boring. Like, billionaires don't spend their money. What are you going to buy? Another Lamborghini? Gets pretty stupid and boring after a while. So it's just that inevitable thing. They go for power. This is history repeating. This is human nature. It's just somehow built into us to be a pack of assholes. And the worst part, I think, you know, that's come out about all this is that the nerds are running the show. Like, Silicon Valley is the biggest problem we have now. They literally are running the show. And funnily enough, they used to just make programs, apps, or whatever they were making, you know, running a search engine. Now they're basically all after military contracts, as you'll see, because I've just got new Uncle Intel coming in right now. That's really interesting. And it's good. It's a good thing. It's not as bad as all these other ones. All right, we'll just keep this thing flowing.
When you come to government and what government's doing, there are artificial intelligence tools, and some of them I know that are developed around financial management for government. But also, tell us a bit about what, because you're right at the forefront of this revolution, what it means for what government should do in terms of its digital infrastructure, you know, digital ID, data centers, and so on.
How do you take advantage of these incredible AI models? And the first thing a country needs to do is to unify all of their data so it can be consumed and used by the AI model.
Right, I'll just cut this guy off for a sec again. So if anyone knows anything about AI, it uses a shit ton of water and even more electricity. So again, we've got them all talking about this green infrastructure that doesn't exist, that apparently we need now and we've got to use. So on the one hand, they're hamming up the green, you know, eco crap, but on the other hand, they admit that AI is going to be the tool that basically forms the prison cells. but it wastes heaps of fresh water, and water is probably the last thing you want to be stuffing with anymore. Like, you know, we don't have a source of clean water. It's full of microplastics and other shit. You almost can't drink it anymore. But these clowns, again, pretending to be eco, yet relying on AI to grow and expand. Like, we're all paying more for electricity at the moment to fund. We're funding our own prison because a lot of that subsidy money is being used to run the data centers, to run AI. Like, this AI is just, it's getting ridiculous. And it's like everything. Like, how's Bitcoin still running? It uses the power of a whole country to run. You know, that's ridiculous. So they pretend to be green, but then they promote the most damaging technologies we have. Things like digital currencies, Bitcoin, the power use is insane. And AI is even worse. The data centers, like I've done a few videos on AI and how much water and power it uses, and it literally makes you sick. And then you scale that up because it's just non-stop growth. Scale it up and there'll be no water left. We won't be allowed to drink it because of friggin' AI. Like, it's just, you know.
You have to take all of your healthcare data, your diagnostic data, your electronic health records, your genomic data. And, you know, in the Middle East, in the UAE, for example, they're incredibly rich in data. They have a lot of population data. The NHS in the UK has an incredible amount of population data, but it's fragmented. It's not easily accessible by these AI models. We have to take all of this data we have in our country and move it into a single, if you will, unified data platform. So we provide context. When we want to ask a question, we've provided that AI model with all the data they need to understand our country. So that's the big step. That's kind of the missing link. We need to unify all of the national data, put it into a database where it's easily consumable by the AI model, and then ask whatever question you like.
So you're really, through the use of this, you're revolutionizing the way government works, right? The services it provides, the way that it operates. What about things like financial management, procurement? How can AI help a government operate more efficiently, more effectively, you know, give a more direct and better service to the citizen?
Well, you know, we have these modern financial systems. So, you know, countries can, and all. So for example, the AI system will help you do that. But again, the secret is to get all of that data in one place. Without having the basic data, it doesn't have it cannot answer the question about your country. I think countries are very uncomfortable with keeping their data in other countries' data centers. So I think part of our essential infrastructure, just like airports obviously need to be in our country, or they're not terribly useful. Ports need to be in our country, and they're not terribly useful. Data centers.
I'll just cut him off for a sec. So the gist I'm getting from this guy is that he wants to centralize AI, which the only way to do that is a one world government, new world order kind of stuff. Now, that hasn't come up very much, like as I've been watching all these clips, but this guy is pinpointing it, and he's talking to Tony Blair again, who's making a lot of money out of being the head of the digital ID worldwide, the figurehead for it all. So this guy's basically, you know, saying that until we get a one world government, because countries don't want to share information together, and that's a problem apparently. How are they going to control us all and put us all in the digital jail if some countries aren't doing it? Well, he's saying that we need a one world government. So that's the general gist of what I'm getting from this clown.
Because of the privacy requirements around the data need to be in our countries, or they're not terribly useful. They need to be in our countries, but they also need to be secure. And there are new technologies right now. This is the last year you will ever log on to an Oracle system with a password. Next, you know, by the middle of this year, well, I'm quite certain you are Tony Blair. And so how do I know? Well, I look at you, I hear your voice, I listen to the kind of questions you ask. I'm pretty sure you're not synthetically created in having this conversation. The security system, we have biometric logins. The computer recognizes you. It recognizes your voice. It might ask you to put your index finger on the return key. And we know, we're absolutely certain it's you. There's no reason to enter a password. In fact, passwords are too easily stolen. Data centers and data is being taken hostage all over the world. The ransomware business is a very, very good business. It's getting bigger and better every year.
So he's pulling a point now, another point which I find interesting. And like I've said during this video, the powers that be have to tell us what they're up to. So they don't want to, but it's some sort of weird contract that they basically have to abide by. So they tell us their stupid and evil plans. Now, this guy's going on about the equivalent of one world government forming, that kind of thing. And now he's talking about how all this information is not safe and that they need a better technology, which he didn't say they actually have implemented yet, to stop all our data getting stolen by hackers or whoever. More likely it would be a false flag by these people. But I'm very, very suspicious, and I could almost predict that I believe in the future there will be a massive hack, and it's almost the easiest way to bring down the system we have now and force everyone over to a new system, which, as this guy's from Oracle, would make billions and trillions of dollars out of taking, you know, his little side fee for being security of everyone's money. So really scary that he kind of admits that it's not safe enough to actually do, but they'll still proceed anyway. So, you know, I don't want a one world government for sure. Our own government in my shit country is a bunch of bloody idiots. So I couldn't imagine piling all the bloody idiots together who have way too much power. And again, they're only actors. They're working for other people. These guys are just, you know, they're just playing a game. So very interesting, because I actually do predict that in the future there will be a massive hack, because people like even old Schwabsy from WEF have said it over and over and over that there's going to be a big cyber attack and that they've got to prepare for it. So again, they tell you what they're up to, which is kind of scary. I kind of wish they'd just shut up.
We tend not to talk about it because the American FBI has a simple advice to someone whose data has been ransomed. Just pay them, because there's nothing we can do about it. But there is something we can do about it, not after the data is stolen, but before the data is stolen. We can make sure that we're using the latest security technology, and it is going to be biometrics,
which he owns,
assisted by AI, to make sure that you are in fact Tony Blair, and I'm sure you are. Now, I would love to live to be 150 years old.
Well,
why does he want to live for 150
years?
What the?
There's an amazing opportunity to reimagine the state, the way that government functions, and the service that it can provide for its citizens. So on a side note, just on a personal story that's a true story, the guy, Larry here, who's talking from Oracle, I was running a digital currency back in like 2014, and we started up like a bit of a group, like a mentor group, and we called it like Oracle Crypto, you know, whatever it was. And funnily enough, their lawyers were straight onto us. As soon as we put the name, as soon as we tried to own the name, we had their lawyers right up our ass. And funnily enough, how they come at you was they were trying to do it nice. They were coming in nice and going, oh, you know, since you've set it all up, we'll pay you. Just take it all down, get rid of that, and we'll talk about a settlement, because, you know, you're going to have to change your name. And literally we changed our name and stuff, and then they just went quiet. They were like, they're not going to give us even 2 cents. A bunch of assholes. I should have just kept the name. Should have just said I got rid of it or something. But anyway, old stories. All right, we'll see who we've got up next. So keep an eye on the dates of a lot of these videos. This one's just pathetic. This is Canada, all right? So if any Canadians think that this isn't coming at them, these tacky government videos is what they're producing at the moment. Again, look at the date. Very recent. It's almost sad. They treat us like children.
Authentication framework has the capacity to connect Canadians to each other and the world. The promise of the digital economy is enormous. Opportunities abound to connect businesses with customers, governments with citizens, and Canadians with each other. Today, Mary from Salouet in northern Quebec needs to wait for a banker to fly in to open her first bank account. Vickis, a clothing designer in Toronto, needs to send multiple courier packages back and forth contract with June, a retailer in Vancouver. Karen in Regina needs to fill out a hard copy of a waiver and provide a copy of her property taxes to prove her residency so that she can register her daughter in the Community Hockey League. Now, let's consider a different world. A world where Canadians can connect and interact securely online. A world where privacy by design shapes how personal information is managed and where clients are at the center of all interactions. This world and all that it enables is possible. Yet, it depends upon a safe, secure, privacy-enhanced digital ID and authentication.
I think they're trying to bore us to death.
Digital ID
It is a method.
the electronic equivalent of a person's identity card. A business or individual can present a digital ID electronically to prove
What's wrong with your license? We already have ID.
information and services online. In order to ensure the accuracy of a digital ID,
How's digital better? You could just fake it, Photoshop it.
authentication is done by testing what a person has: passport, driver's license, bank account, what a person knows, a password, answer to a secret question, and or what a person is, fingerprint or iris scan. Often, two or more of these authentications are combined. A strong, secure, and privacy-enhancing digital ID and authentication framework will enable Canadians to transact online just as they would in person. Further, it has the potential to create new opportunities that are not possible in the bricks and mortar world. The Digital ID and Authentication Council of Canada, a pan-Canadian nonprofit made up of leaders from Canada's public and private sectors, is working with partners across Canada and around the world to ensure that Canadians can benefit from a world-leading, privacy-enhancing digital ID and authentication framework.
Privacy enhancing.
Mary
Oh,
can open a bank account from her living room with any financial institution whenever she wants. Vicus and June can close their deals more efficiently using secure electronic signatures.
can't see her in it.
Karen
No
can now
advantage
register
yet.
her daughter for hockey,
This is
prove
all
her
already
residency,
here.
and sign the waiver, all online. No single player can do it on their own. By working together, business, government, citizens, academics, communities, we can build a made-in-Canada framework for all Canadians. Just as the railroad sparked new growth, innovations, and connections in the 19th century.
Yeah, I agree. Say no.
Scalable, privacy-enhancing digital ID and authentication.
Yeah, I've got some really good info coming on in a minute. Something really positive just came through.
Our government into the 21st century.
Now that was just the most boring bullshit I've ever heard in my life. Like, I find it funny too. It's kind of all the, the ex kind of monarchy, countries like America, Canada, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, who are the worst at this, who are right into just enslaving their citizens. It's sort of, it's just the old world just will not go away. All roads lead to Rome still. It's, it's unbelievable. All right. I might even, there's another one coming up. I think it's, this is kind of interesting.
I object to all punishment whatsoever. I don't want to punish anybody. But there are an extraordinary number of people whom I want to kill.
None of this is new.
Not in any unkind or personal spirit. But it must be evident to all of you. You must all know half a dozen people at least who are no use in this world, who are more trouble than they are worth. And I think it would be a good thing to make everybody come before a properly appointed board, just as he might come before the income tax commissioners, and say every 5 years or every 7 years, just put him there and say, sir or madam, now will you be kind enough to justify your existence?
What?
If you can't justify your existence, if you're not pulling your weight in the social vote, if you're not producing as much as you consume, or perhaps a little more, then clearly we cannot use the big organization of our society for the purpose of keeping you alive, because your life does not benefit us and it can't be of very much use to you.
Yeah. So as you can see, this kind of attitude is not new. Like, I don't know the exact date of that guy, but looking at the footage, we must be talking, I don't know, 1950 50s, 30s, 40s. I'm not sure how old that was. I should actually look it up. But anyway, yeah, old clowns who are in government, in control, admitting that we should be basically tried for how much we consume. So this is not a new thing, and the abundance was pretty big back then compared to what it is now. So it's just interesting to see that these people are able just to talk to us like this, like that they want to wipe you out basically, and you have to justify yourself. All right, I'll just get through a few more. I'm just going to find the next video we're up to. I'm just in the background compiling some really interesting info just coming in. I got a petition that is just going off its tits. People in the UK trying to stop, this whole thing going forward. All right.
And certainly that it was digital. And
WEF again, 2024.
We've really worked with all our partners to actually help that being, to grow this. And the interesting part of it is that, yes, it is very necessary for financial services, but not only.
Sure.
It's also good for school enrollment. It's also good for health, who actually got a vaccination or not. It's very good to actually to get your subsidies, from the government. So this has not only effect to the financial services. It's a very important issue.
Sure.
The digitalization has played, of course, a very important role. And I think we have here on my right a very good example of how it actually has been driven in Egypt. But it has basically brought first two things: increased affordability.
Affordability, all right.
And also the easiness.
Easiness.
Now you have your bank branch basically in the palm of your hands.
Oh wow!
So this has actually really changed the access, but also has changed the usage. You can actually have access to a lot more types of products that you could actually have done before. So this notion now of going access to usage.
Yeah.
We've been actually talking about the access side for some time. Then we actually went to usage, and now we're going to the next frontier, which is the financial health. What are the outcomes? I would really, once we put the rails there, we got to the people. I would really get given them the right products and services that are actually going to help people have better financial lives. And I love this issue of having definitions, so I'm going to give you the definition of financial health because I find it's a very important issue.
Sure.
It's managing the concept of managing day-to-day finances. So poor people actually have very complicated financial lives because they do
Thanks
not
for the
get
likes and follows.
income.
Yeah, so I think her gist there was she's kind of not saying the exact words, but she's talking about a universal basic income, like a universal income for everyone. I suppose too, looking at how things are working, AI is going to strip a lot of jobs. I think in America, the government shutdown at the moment will prove that. We're going to see, I don't even know how many thousands, but I bet you it's a lot. By the time they open up, heaps of people won't be coming back to work. They're just going to strip it, which maybe is a good thing. I don't really know. But I think they're really starting to push for this hard now. And like she's trying to infer, without saying the exact words, that they're going to lure us in with a basic income. So it'll seem like a good deal. You'll be like, oh my God, the government's going to give us 20 grand a year for nothing. Wow, they're so nice. They're always looking after me. I'm just so happy that they're nice people and not evil bastards. I'm just so grateful for that. So that's the lure. They're going to give you something, and as soon as you take that, you've signed the contract. You're theirs, 100%. And you'll have to grovel to get anything done. And the system will be able to know everything. It'll know your history. It'll know everything. So then they could deny, say, medical treatments. So, for example, they keep talking about the vaccinated. So if you are unvaccinated, I'm a pure blood, then you're not going to be in their system, which is probably not a bad thing. And we're going to come up with some solutions too. At the end of this, we'll come through a few solutions on what you can actually do to try to avoid getting wrapped up in this shit. And the main one will be just do not take money from the government. Get your own skills and trades running, because bartering and stuff, so I think normal people think that it was something that they did 2,000 years ago. Well, it wasn't. Our financial system, it's set for collapse just historically. Like most currencies run for 80 years before they collapsed in history. Like ours has gone, 200 plus for most countries' fiat. So we're well and truly due for a reset anyway. It's a natural thing that happens. People lose confidence in their governments and currency, and it drops like a ton of shit, just like it's doing now. Looking at the markets at the moment, gold, Bitcoin, silver, just pumping like no tomorrow. And the currency itself is devaluing, so it's not really as much as gold and silver are pumping. It more means that our currencies are losing their strength and power, which is not a really good thing for people on the street. And I'm not saying you should buy Bitcoin or gold or silver or anything like that either. I don't own any of that shit. I find material stuff just to be totally useless, and it holds you down anyway. Like, you're forced into the system if you worry about material shit, and especially fake zeros and ones in your bank accounts. It's a part of the system. But anyway, a bit less rambling. I'll move on. We'll go to the next. Yeah, so this one, it's kind of scary. I'll just put a pause here for a sec. So again, this is dated, like, I think I got this 2 days ago. So I can't see the date on it. Doesn't matter. This is just as fresh info. So Britain's mandatory digital ID revealed a feature where you can dob on your neighbours and friends. So, oh my God, I remember this in COVID. They were literally, Australian government was doing it. They were like, dob on your neighbours. If you see them walking outside, dob on them. We'll come and get them. If you see them having fun, laughing, we'll come and get them. We'll send the police straight around. So the app, this is like a bit of a leak on the app, the stage that it's up to now. And they're literally having the report an issue. And it's like, what is the issue? Oh, I saw my neighbour, he got some eggs off another neighbour. They're bartering. They're not using the digital currency. Oh my God. And literally, here comes someone to kick your door in. So, like, this is just putting us against us again. And it just seems to work so easily for them. They distract us by making us fight against each other. And I know from COVID that even in our little street here, we had a fair few people dobbing people in for basically doing nothing. Everyone was like at their blinds checking outside. Someone's outside, quick, ring the police. We're all going to get infected. All this kind of bullshit that's going on. Like, I think at the end of the day, humans have become so weak and useless, we probably deserve some of this. So maybe this is inevitable, maybe it can't be stopped. But, there are ways around this, and it could make your life pretty tough. But, it's like hard times, make weak men, make strong men, and weak times make hard men. It's just how it works. So maybe this is all due. We'll see. But this is coming at us so fast now. It's quite scary, and I really don't know exactly how implemented all this is at the moment. It's
sometimes
definitely
applying for
like,
government benefits can be a lengthy and
kind of
complicated
organised
process.
Like, and
the
these
government of
pathetic
Canada's
baby
vision
like
is to
ads,
enable
they talk
Canadians
to you like
use
you're
trusted digital
dumb
identities for
citizen.
quick and easy access
We're
to
gonna help
online
you.
services. Emily's having a baby soon
Canada
and is
and
applying for
Australia
benefits.
and the UK are
Today,
some of the
she has to
stupidest
complete an
countries on this
online
planet, I swear to
application
God.
form, then wait 5 to 10 days for an access
problem
code.
solution,
When it
constant.
arrives in the mail, she will use it to
Constant.
create an account and set up
Just-
direct deposit. What if she could do all this at once, from any device? She'd confirm who she is using her provincial or territorial trusted digital ID, consent to using personal information from her digital
thanks
ID,
for the info,
and may
George.
choose to receive notifications.
So early 1900s.
Once approved, she'd decide how to
interesting.
get paid. That's it. The government's goal is to enable simple, fast, and convenient access to services anytime, anywhere, on any device. We're working with government and the private sector to build the foundation and standards for digital identity across Canada
Look,
and
I'm
internationally.
almost falling asleep watching these ads. It's trying to sell me bullshit. So this is straight from the WEF site, and it goes really deep into it. Their site is actually quite amazing. That each little blue circle there, if you click on that, it goes into another blue circle full of information, and then there'll be another 20 blue circles to click on. Like, they have really nailed it down, like, and really thought about every possibility. What video? Alright. I'll have to work out which video that is. Sorry guys, stuffing up my audio. it looks good again. Yeah, so at the end of the day, WEF, obviously they're a massive part of all this plan. Always have been, and their support comes from the biggest companies in the world. All our politicians just seem to love them. They just, I don't know why. But the WF must basically have, I don't know, endless George Soros funds or something, because, everyone's just doing exactly what they say, which is kind of weird. I'm really hoping for more blowback on these guys. I know Schwabsy seemed to feel like he was under pressure and had to bail because he's out and he retired at 88, lots of eights, on the 88th day of this and that. They really do use a lot of ritual when they, come in and out of things, when they implement things, which is another thing to watch. It's one thing to watch the dates on some of these posts, but it's another thing to, when you start aligning everything together and putting it in its box. I find the numerology quite fascinating. Now, I'm not a numbers guy at all, but I just keep seeing the patterns, and it's more like it's pagan stuff, like the equinox. They always do some crazy shit and try to screw us over. It's just, you couldn't make a movie stranger than what we're living through for the past 5 years, and I think it's only going to get worse. All right, we'll get back into the next video. WF, I think everyone's quite aware of the actors there, and this is just a small funny one. You'll own nothing, be happy. And she's like, oh, you mean we? Did I start that? It's exactly how it is. These are rules for us, not them. Old Schwabsy sitting around with Soros. Yeah, so they're kind of implying the CIA. Yeah, quite believable. All right, next one.
What we're seeing today,
I know he's hard to listen to, but we'll give him a go.
Is what I call turnkey totalitarianism. They are putting in place all of these technological mechanisms for control we've never seen before. It's been the ambition.
Very busy time. The dates again. September, end of September.
From the beginning of mankind. To control
Virgos
every
are like the truth
aspect
tellers,
of
so
behavior,
it's kind of not
conduct,
surprising
of
that the end of September, like so many of these videos came out.
None of them have been able to do it. They didn't have the technological capacity. Today,
I also don't
the
believe this guy.
mechanisms are being put in place.
He's another actor.
And will make it so none
Everyone
of us
thinks
can
he's one of the
run,
good guys.
And none of
I
us
don't
can
know,
hide. Within 5 years, we're going to see 415,000 low orbit satellites. Bill Gates says his 65,000 satellites alone will be able to look at every square inch of the planet 24 hours a day. Digital currency that will allow them to punish us from a distance and cut off our food supply. Every right that you have is transformed into a privilege contingent upon your obedience to arbitrary government dictates. It will make you a slave.
It's just a paid actor. It's
And
just trying
what
to get
do we
votes.
do about
He probably
this?
doesn't believe anything he's saying. It's probably a part
What
of the
do we
plan.
do? We resist. I'm going to tell you 3 rules that you all need to know and memorize. Number 1, every power that government takes from us, it will never relinquish voluntarily. Number 2, every power they take from us, they will ultimately abuse to the maximum extent possible.
Yeah, I'm not even halfway through the content.
Number 3,
I might have to do 2 parts.
nobody in history of the planet has ever complied their way out of totalitarian control. Every capitulation is a signal to the oppressors to impose new forms of torment or torture or compliance or obedience. Every time you comply, you get weaker. Bullies cannot be appeased. It just encourages them to new forms of torture and torment. Every time you say yes, you're getting pushed back to a weaker position. That's why we need to resist today.
Yeah, so enough said about that dude. I don't really trust him. Don't trust any of them. They're just actors. You just got to remember they're paid to be an actor and they do what they're told. No one's on the fringe saying what they really think. So I might have to do part 2 because I'm not sure how long this has been going for. This is an hour already and I'm not even halfway through the content. So I might just come back later and I'll just quickly show you. Nah, maybe I'll wait till later. But some really good intel coming in. So there are some positives. It's not all negative by the look of it. And the positive that I'm seeing just coming into me now is the power of the people. Looks like it's finally starting to push back, and this is in the UK. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to come back because I've got a few things I've got to do, like everyone. So thanks for watching. Thanks for comments. Yeah, if you want to watch the other one, do the standard like and subscribe thing because I'll be back at some stage today and present the rest of it because, yeah, it's a little bit longer than I thought of it because I keep collating more information in the background here. And there's just more info coming in. There's a lot of stuff going on right now around this whole topic. So bear with me and I'll be back later. Thanks for viewing.